Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's always nice to say hi to our community members. I'm Luis here from Venezuela, as always, helping set up these educational webinars. And we're thrilled to have you today, as always. Hey, Abdullahi, thank you for coming all the time. Remember you saying hi. And as I mentioned, I'm from Venezuela. I always like to learn where you guys from. Irene from Kenya, I remember. Hello, Kaja. And I think I've seen these names in the leaderboard of the prizes for being good students of this educational series. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. From Egypt. Nice. Which part of Egypt? I think it's the first time I see you. Yeah, Domingos. You guys are going to give us a good time to our guests today, trying to learn new languages from all of these places. Nigeria, Egypt, Kenya, Brazil, Cameroon. Yeah, congratulations, Kaja, for winning that prize. Remember you. That's great. I'm super excited today to bring these guests, these gentlemen here today are Rinat and Samir, and I'm sure you guys are going to love the content of this session because according to what I learned, and as always, I don't want to spoil anything from these gentlemen. They both work with Populi, and something what you will learn is basically the what's behind the scenes between the work that you do and how we find customers, how Populi gets the customers, and what are their expectations. And basically, you can start grasping details about probably how to improve your profile, how to improve your skills, and be more efficient and into the whole ecosystem of happy clients, more work. So, without any further ado, I'll leave you with our two great guests today, which are Rinat and Samir. Hey guys, the stage is all yours. I'm going to be in the background, helping you with the questions that the guy is going to fill in Slido. And if you need anything, just you know where I am.
Hello, hello, hello. Yes. Thank you, Sanjay. I hope you said your name right. Yes. Like, thank you. So, my name is Rinat. I'm like an My background is science, so I came from academia. I had been doing open innovation at Harvard for like 8+ years. I had been running Top Coder platform for quite a lot. So like, and now I am an crowd expert here at the Jack McKendra. And yes, it is like I used to whenever I speak on like Google Meets, I usually have a Mars background and like or like a crazy kind of like science lab background. So I was trying to find this one for FabX, but unfortunately I just installed it. So like I need to have like better like cooler background here. So we're going to be talking about exciting part, like that's how does the relationship between the crowd, Tech Mahindra, and the clients of Tech Mahindra actually looking like. So let's think about first what Tech Mahindra is. It is an IT service company. So what we do the service. And whom do we do the service to? We do the service to all the big guys. So all the big guys that you know around, so like in IT space, that's where we're coming to and saying, hey, like we can help you with your business. So tell us like what to do, like tell us exactly what you want to achieve, and we can make it happen. So more specifically, I'm from the business process services part of Tech Mahindra. And that is where the most of the services are built around bringing the workforce. So we're gonna say, hey, like guys, we're gonna actually like bring the right people. Not only like we're gonna do this for you, but we also do it by bringing the right people to do that thing for you. And that thing can be like a lot. It can be very diverse. So more specifically, even more specifically than that, uh, like we are working with the clients who are currently training their large language models. So like, that's probably like the biggest thing in IT space that's happening right now is like all this like Gen AI, all this like all this like mega competition about like who is like smarter, whether it is even AI or whether like we can talk about like how good it is. But the most important is that uh, in order to win in this competition of those large language models, apparently you need to have a lot of human input because everything what you can train those large language models from, like say internet or from the books, that has been already used. And the most of the work right now is happening and that's enormous amount of work is happening on on getting the right input from the people around. And those inputs could be very diverse. So that's starting from evaluating like the what the large language model returns in response to something. So it can be like, hey, whether it gives a fact straight, whether it gives a tone straight, whether it actually like formulates it right, whether there is a better way of saying it, like whether this response is better than that response, like to to try to find the right request to large language model where it responds right or wrong. That's basically all the prompt engineering or like a red teaming part, or like the where, for example, you try to find some prompt where you ask model something and it gives the response that is not right, and that's where it is something that needs to be fixed, to preparing the data for the large language model. And that could be like anything from like, hey, like if you want to train the large language model on the videos, you need to know what video is about. You need to know what audio is about. You need to know what, you need to know like, if you train, for example, math, like you need to know what is it the right math question, or like is it the right solution, or is it the right answer? And there has to be somewhere that like ground truth part of that solution that has to uh, has to have a human input. And the nature of that thing is that that it's it's all about various languages, various domains, and like various special skills. So uh, whenever the nature of those tasks is that whenever we get a task uh, and we solve it, like we deliver it, and the client, for example, trains that model on that specific element of it, uh, next time they want something else. So there is never the case when you have like the same task today and the same task tomorrow. No, there will be something different because that thing, that specific thing that we already did, so the large language model learns. And that means that the space evolves. That space of the need is in continuous evolvement. So say today we need this language, for example, on this topic. Tomorrow we'll need that something in a different language, or like we're going to like more rare languages, or to the dialects, or like today we need, for example, this level of math. Tomorrow we have high level of math, or like physics, or like biology, or chemistry, or history, or like journalism. So today we need, for example, the input from just the the native speaker in some language, but tomorrow, for example, we will need not just native speaker, but for example, someone who is of the age of like 18 to 22, or like someone who would be able to test like the application, for example, of some implementation of Gen AI, for example, on specific device, on, for example, say like iPhone, or like someone who has like a special needs. So there is a continuous evolvement of the need of the skills and the space in that space. And when the client comes to us and say, hey, we need an expert, like, for example, with this and this and this skills who can do actually X, Y, and Z. So the usual thing is that, hey, we pick up the internet and like our internal system, and we start looking for the people in the house and say, hey, like, do we have that person? Do we have that expert? But as I said, the space is continuously evolving. So every time like the new task, when the new task comes, we need the skills that we haven't had before. So sometimes we're able to like repurpose internal skill set and do the work with our like in-house people. Sometimes we have enough time, for example, to find someone like and hire them on like on a short-term basis. But it is gonna go and more and more and more, and that is what the natural thing what's happening. Then we need like this skill set right now. Then tomorrow we need to have that skill set. Tomorrow day after tomorrow we have that skill set, and that is something that we cannot even predict when we need what. The only thing we do with we know that eventually we'll need everything, and in everything and in every single combination, and that is where Tech Mahindra started actually like investing its resources into building this like the crowd capabilities, like with like engaging with Populi, investing into Populi. The Populi started investing into collaboration with other platforms because we need that continuous like we need that continuous access to the skill set, and we know that it's going to grow. But at the same time, we know that it's not easy way to get to plug the crowds all the way into the delivery chain from the client uh, to the developer. That is actually a pretty tricky part, and that's what we're going to be talking about. And uh, there is many stakeholders in that process, and there is a very complex way how the tasks are getting to us, and there is also very complex responsibility profile of like how do we what are we responsible for, so what are we being evaluated on, like how like what do we actually like need to deliver, and like in what way. And that is and with the crowds being definitely the future here, and it's going to be the future not only like say like for like one client or like one, no, it's actually like it's the future for the whole area. It's also probably going to be the future for the whole like cross collaboration across various Tech Mahindra teams. uh so right now there is a lot of elements there that is still like in development and getting polished and plugged in, and part of that's going to be like part of the conversation to like give the sense of like how it is now and like where it is going in future. And the next, I'm gonna probably pass it to Samir. So like his first topic he's going to talk. So Samir is the head of the crowd, head of the crowd, like on the delivery side. So his goal is to plug. So my goal is to make Populi work with the delivery. His goal actually to make the delivery work with the crowd, like with the Populi. So so his first topic he's going to be talking about is like all the delivery chain, like how do we like get those tasks from the client and how those tasks are actually getting to us with a lot of like interesting like roadmap like on the way. So so thank you, and you're welcome with your question on the way. We're going to be picking them up or on the slider. Yes, and we'll try to like answer them like in the process. So Samir, like welcome to our show, like, and up to you. Like,
Thank you so much, Rinath. Thank you for the wonderful introduction and all the insights that you gave. So, hello everyone. Uh, I'm very excited to meet you guys. So, as Rinath suggested, AI is the next big thing. Crowd is the next big thing. Uh, More and more companies are moving to crowd workers, freelancers, uh, people like us. They are partnering with various agencies. We have built our own portal, Populi. So that's the way forward. Uh, Now I'll just explain it to you how it all goes. So there's a marketplace, and the work comes in the market, and we, being the vendors, we have our own system where we pick the work from the market. Now there are a lot of kind of different set of works that we do. One would be rating, where we have a few rating tasks. The tasks come in different languages. They often, we require different people from different backgrounds, different walks of life. They need to be native to the the same locality which we're looking for, same locale. So these are all the mixtures that we get from the stakeholder, from the client, and then it flows down to us. Then what we do is we basically start looking at what kind of task it is, what is the skill set that it requires, what is the turnaround time, how can it how can we make it more smooth in order to deliver to the best of our abilities. uh, so we are highly depending upon people like you. And as Elena suggested, this is going to be pretty big pretty soon. Gone are the days where you would just be happy just working for one client. Now this is some platform where you can choose what you work, when to work. You can decide your own timings. So this is something. The only thing that crowd asks is that you need to be available, because that is a challenge. Because usually what happens is we are giving a TAT, that is a turnaround time, and in that time period we have to complete the task and get back to the client. So once we have the task, as I was saying, we scrutinize, we see what is the skill set, what is the language, what is the locale, is there any. Okay, so there are tasks which also require, a very special skill set, like someone who is very proficient in maths, someone who is a teacher, someone who is a nurse, someone who is specialized in any skill. So something like that. So we keep on getting tasks from many, different domains. So accordingly we have a requirement, and we then go out to you, and you know we add the task at the website or Populi website portal, and there you pick it up. uh, so that is how it usually works. And as I said, the turnaround time, that is what we are looking for. We are trying to make uh, our portal more efficient, so that the time that we take, the time that we deliver back to the client is something that we can meet and we are satisfied with. So that's about how it flows, how the work flows. Uh, Over to you, Rinat. Anything if you want to add?
Okay, thank you. So it's Samir like simplified it a lot, but that's basically like that's a lot what we see is coming to us from the vendor management. So like the way, and the vendor management is basically like it's not even the final stakeholder. So there is a somewhere final stakeholder like somewhere like on the client side who actually want to use those results within their group, like that's specific, they have specific agenda, like what do they want to do, like how they want to train, for example, what exactly they want to achieve with that, for example, data. Then there is a vendor manager. Basically like there is a portal that is there, that is like that is that is connected to us and to the other to the other potential vendors, who basically saying, hey, like who can do this, who can make this happen. And then there is us, like if it is going towards us, like we have our delivery leads on our end, who is actually like who are basically our internal stakeholders, who need to make sure that we deliver that task to the client, and it actually like goes all the way through, and they decide what resource to use, whether they're going to use their like experts on the team, whether they hire someone like in a like temporary, or whether they go to the crowd and like set, for example, example of gig work, and they are under a lot of pressure on like how to deliver it right. And if you think about those responsibilities like along the chain, like there is a real uh, uh, there is a real uh, it's a pretty tough and uncertain space to navigate, because when, for example, the stakeholder on a big client like says, hey, like I want to do, say, something that requires like a journalist who is like native, for example, in Indonesian. So the first thing they're gonna do, they're not gonna give us that task. They're gonna say, hey, like, can you actually like show us that you have someone who probably ready to do that work right now. So who can like go and say, hey, like I'm journalist, like here's like I'm definitely a good journalist. I'm definitely have native Indonesian. I'm definitely maybe like some there could be some other parameters too. So like I'm definitely of that age, or I'm definitely like I'm say journalist and historian. No, it could be pretty complex requirement, or it could be like journalist, but also like someone who has expertise, for example, in a certain type of inputs for large language models, like with a certain experience. So show us that you have those people. So give us the expert. And then for like our delivery side, there is often like also easier to say, okay, like maybe we have someone who worked for us before. Let us look for that person. Like let us look like because like we can show that, for example, that person in advance. And that's why you often also hear, but that's as I explained before, that's not usually the case. That's more and more it's going to be often that it's not going to be the case. We are not going to have the right person. So that's why I usually hear from, say, like me or from like Jesse saying, hey, like we need someone for certain skills because like that's is a potential for the project. That's not even a project. That's even a potential for the project for us to get. Because like if we have them, if we have some, for example, people who can show that, hey, like we're ready to work with it, then we'll get that work. But if you don't, then we don't get that work. And that's what that's uncertainty space often happens. The second is that there is like often where we hear like who is needed is that we hear it from the vendor manager, and then we get, for example, the tasks that are actually like preset by the main stakeholders, like for example on the client side, and they are actually like a little bit different tasks. So what you hear in advance is not always the same with like what we often get. So there is a pretty complex space there that we need to navigate, where which is entirely tuned towards show us an expert here right now. And that is something that we need to make work with idea that here's a job and the expert will come, which is completely opposite, like sort of like model, like how the crowd works, which we totally understand. And that is like, if you know like about the famous story of Apollo 13, where they had to connect the square filter with a pack that was built for the round one. So that's that's where like the whole like system is being built. So like the client needs to learn how to work with the delivery teams. The delivery teams need to know how to work with the Populii. Populii need to be very efficient how to work with the crowd, and uh, and you also like need to understand like what sort of like the expectations are and like sort of like where it goes. So so there is a chain that we currently like still we are trying to tune and streamline. And there is also a chicken and egg here, that uh, thing that the better we deliver, the better we do the work, but the more like the better actually like the better work goes through the chain, the more work we're gonna get. So the more work we're gonna get to the clients, so the client's gonna be aligned. The more work we're gonna get through, the more like delivery leads gonna be working with the crowd. Like the more like crowd members will be like happy probably to work because like there is more stable part of the work, and the more diverse of the teams within Tech Mahindra, we're gonna be plugging into that process. So there is so there is a huge expectations here. That's and I know that you probably like have also the questions. Yes, the chicken and eggs problem is always tricky, and that is sort of like we're trying to solve. But that's, you think about that as any type of platform type of challenge. That there is always the the one side and another side, and it works only like if both sides are plentiful. And in this case, there is actually like several layers of that platform, because there is platform between the crowd and the Tech Mahindra delivery, but there is also the crowd between the overall vendors and the client, and there is clients there too. So there is kind of like double or triple platform challenge that we do solve. And what's gonna, and there is several means how to solve it. I'm going to be talking later about the means how we improve the process overall, like, and where the whole like process is going. And Samir right now is going to be talking about how we solve this problem by delivering the best work and the best expectations for work. And his next part is related to how, like, what is on the delivery manager standpoint. So, like, what is a delivery manager needs from the crowd member. So what are those the main KPIs? So what are those main parameters that are specifically needed, that are actually like essential for that work, and that also like that are essential both to convince delivery leads that he needs to work with the crowd and to deliver the best work to the client stakeholder, so they give us more work, like within the same framework. So now it's back to Samir on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Srinath, once again. Uh, so as he suggested, as Rina suggested, what's happening is that we get different sort of tasks, and every task requires some bit of training. Now, there could be some lengthy documents as well that we all need to go through. There could be, around 10, 12 pages of documents that we need to go through in order to understand what is required from us. There could be couple of hours of training to start with in order to meet the expectations. Training is something which is very, very, very important, because what happens is if we just attempt the task, and the quality is really down, and then there is a audit, quality audits, that's a red flag. That could be very, very critical, very fatal. So we put a lot of effort in training. We have an in-house trainer. We have, at times we roll out some documents which we also explain. At times there are some sample tasks, at times there are no sample tasks. We just have to go live and perform the task. Very important here is that uh, you know the stakeholder, they are very, very critical about the quality. If the quality is down, then that's something which is a red flag, and that means that we will not be getting any work, or we will be getting less work. So quality is of very much importance, and we ensure that audit checks are being done. So it's not only at the client's end that the audits are done. We have our internal auditors as well, who from time to time they keep checking whatever work that you guys have done. uh, Basically, as I said, training and quality, they go hand in hand and play a very important role. uh, Also, as I said, that there are different tasks. So the time, turnaround time, as I explained previously as well, is very important. So in case if we require the task to be completed in 3 days, uh, and there is a AHT, average handle time, that is also one of the key metrics that we look at. So it cannot be where the task target AHT is 5 minutes and someone is taking 10 minutes or 12 minutes. So that is also a red flag for us. So we make sure that whatever KPIs, whatever metrics, be it quality, be it AHT, be it throughput. Throughput is basically nothing else but whatever the number of tasks that we do. All these are kept in green. From time to time, we take out the queries, the tasks that you do. We do internal and external audits as well from the client side, as well as our internal auditors. So, and we provide feedback as well. It's not that if we see that something is going wrong, we go ahead and provide the feedback there and then. At times, there could be a delay of maybe a couple of hours or maybe a day's time, but then it depends on what exactly uh, what is the turnaround time of the required task. So what very important is that if at all you guys have any questions at the preliminary stage, I would suggest please ask. It is okay to ask, even if you're asking, the second, third, or fourth time, that is still okay because we make sure that you are doing the right thing. But if you just go half cooked and you are not sure about what is the right option, what you need to do, that will affect your quality and that will not be, going well with the client. So as I said, these are the few metrics that we have to look and we have to be very serious about. Uh, Again, coming back to what in crowd is, it's not that you have to work regularly for like the whole day, the entire day. You can choose. You can choose couple of hours. If you're working somewhere, you can choose couple of hours one day, couple of hours the next day. But what I would suggest in request is just be regular in checking your emails, because from time to time we push whatever task comes to us, and this is a first come first serve. If you are there to take the task, we assign that to you. But yeah, that's about it. That's how it goes. Back to you, Rinath.
Awesome, thank you. So I see there is basically a question about the feedback, what feedback can you provide to the workers, like on their work? So like it's I know like part of that answer, but that's probably like the big question is going to you, Samir, because I know that there is various types of projects that we have. Like on some of the projects where we get so some of the projects we need to deliver fast, and some of the projects we have a time to train the team, to engage the team, and for example to uh, to do the iterative approach. So in the cases where we do the work fast, that is where the case where usually we pre-select, we pre-test when we have a time, like, and that is where you get straight working in the task, and that is when the main criteria are becoming like is there is a selective check of the qualities, or like the delivery the times that you work per task. So that is, so it has to be so all those parameters have to be in place, and and you will learn like if like some of those parameters are significantly off. Like, but for the projects where we have a phased approach, that's where we have a training, because that training goes both internal and external, because we're collecting the feedback, and we continuously working back and translating back like what are the common errors and what things we try to avoid, what things like what we see systematically that we need to check, what, for example, element of instructions that haven't been properly understood, or if there is a certain uncertainty in the instructions, like how do we interpret it, because sometimes we actually find uncertainties in instructions and we don't even know how to answer them ourselves, and we have to actually like push it all the way to the client, saying, hey, like this can be interpreted like this way or this way, so like how exactly do you need to do, like, so it's not being counted as, for example, as an error, because we are trying to measure our quality on our side, but also but the main is the client that measures the quality on their side, and that's where it's being decided whether we get more work or not. So Samir, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you have summed it well. Just want to say that one of the questions that I'm reading, though you've answered, but just want to add something that would you send us feedback to help us gauge the quality of our work? We don't send the feedback in writing, but yes, we can ask you, we can give you some tips on how to improve or what's wrong. We can do it in chat. Uh, so that what happens is right now, like if you're working on a particular task, like for example, I'll give you an example. So there's a task which is named as factuality, where you have to check the facts, you have to check the URLs, the supporting evidence, the artifacts you have to add. So what you do is, let's say there's a sentence which is a target sentence which says that, okay, Big Ben is in London. right? So you will search the internet, and to give a very easy example, the task is not that easy, but I'm just giving a very easy example. So let's say it says that Big Ben is in London. So what we do is you go to search, Google search, you type Big Ben, and then it comes, and then you can paste, okay, it's in London. Now what happens in case you don't understand, you might type something else, or you may think that Big Ben is something else. So what happens is we can once we audit that question, we can tell you, we can tell you that, okay, this is how it needs to be searched. This is the URL that you need to copy and paste. So things like that. And the other question which I'm reading is, would you send us samples to have an
Samples.
idea about the output to deliver? See, it depends. As I said, in some tasks there are sample sets that we receive, and if yes, we pass it on to you. Some tasks they do not have sample tasks, so we have to work on live tasks directly.
So
So
on those where we don't have samples of tasks, sometimes we create like artificial training data sets. That's sort of like, that is not
correct,
client samples, but those are sort of like representing like the original data set. And that's where we can use for like pre-selection, like whether you really even want to work on this task, or like how, whether you're more or less like good enough, like for example, to fit the task. So, or like also to the training too. Like, but also a lot what we do like on the delivery side is that we take the instructions from the clients and then we rewrite them like for the crowd, because like what we get from the client is usually just what they want. Like, okay, this is sort of like what I want to see, and then like to translate that into how it actually looks like from the standpoint of the delivery, from the standpoint of like what exactly like you need from exact guidelines. So that is not often in place, and that is what we write, and then we see like how it goes, and we can update, and that includes a lot of like a lot of guidance on what the right output is. As examples, again, like the outputs could be very diverse. Like it's the example of like factuality. That's what Samir produced here. Like, where is the backbend? Like, is it in England? True or not true? Like, it could be like something, some more local question. That's why we often need like very local people to know like whether it is, for example, some specific holiday in like one of the like regions of India, like whether it is like correct or not correct, some question about it. So only like people who live there like may know well about it. So it could be something that where you need to do a certain set of actions that are very clear, that for example that has to be done very rigorously. So for example, we had a work on on training the large language model on the high school math problems. That's where you need to find the math problem, like for example on YouTube. You need to translate it, for example, into the text. You need to take those texts, you need to like put it into large language model. You need to see like whether that large language model actually like produces the right result or not. So like whether, so you need to know, for example, how to solve it. But that's just like, and then we'll go into to other areas, and like say the physics and like biology and like chemistry and so on. There are like examples when we're trying to do, for example, understanding like the correctness and the tone of the response. So, for example, you're asking large language model certain question, for example, about your health. Like, hey, like, do I want to take like certain medicine? Like, or like, would that medicine like be good for me? Or like something like this. And it has to respond to you in a very tuned way. And there is a whole set of guidelines of like with each of the elements, like what that answer has to satisfy. Like that, it cannot give you, for example, that advance the recommendation that could be potentially bad for your health, like, or that could give you perception that it is actually a doctor, not the large language model. But at the same time, it still needs to give you enough helpful information, so so that talking to large language model would be actually like worth it. So so giving a practical advice, but tuned as a practical advice at the same time, like not being seen as a doctor and not doing anything that is incorrect. So there's a whole list of guidelines around it. Or like sometimes it could be even more complex questions. Like you can ask large language model some ridiculous questions about, like, say, like, how can I build a bomb, or like how can I like kill someone? So like it's so the question that large language model has to respond with a special level of rigor and tone accuracy. So like and there is a whole so there is a whole dimension like going there. Then there is a lot of like things again like on preparing the data. Just like for example, if you want to train, like I was giving that example, we want to train, for example, large language model like on, for example, some images, like the large language model need to know what the answer is there. So like, for example, it says, hey, there is a house there and there is like a pond near the house. So we need to know what it is to compare against. So like someone needs to find that house and someone needs to find that pond. So that could be examples. And those tasks vary all the time. It's you think about all the applications of large language models right now, and they're getting more and more complex and more sophisticated. And each of them generates basically the task where the humans need to either check whether it is correct, or write the correct answer for the large language model, or perform a set of actions that would test the large language model on a certain topic. So there is a whole like detailed like instructions like how we do it. So so if you summarize like what the delivery managers and what the clients actually really need from the crowd, they need the following things. So first, they need the bandwidth. So they need to know that like they will get the people with the right skills, but also they need to know that they get it in the right quantities. Because what we often have is like we don't have anything, for example, on this certain skill set, and then they give like, okay, here is a huge task that we need to do, and that task is enough to do like for 100 people, like, and for 200 people. So, and if we don't bring like 200 people to that task, then someone else is going to bring 200 people to that task, and then we are not going to get even the work on our end. So one is like whether we can bring the people of certain skill set, and whether we can bring them in a large quantities when it is needed. So the second factor that is needed is the speed, like how quickly we can do it, because the clients used to work with sort of like the expert teams, where they expect already the vendor to have the experts already in place, and they sort of like expect the expert to start working immediately. I give you task, you told me that you have this skill set, I'm giving you this task, the work has to start right now, like not tomorrow, not in 3 days. In 3 days I actually expect this task to be completed. So and that's what they're looking for. So when we are saying that, hey, like we need to have like we need to start the work immediately, that's truly speaking, that means like we need to find a way how we streamline this shorten this way like to work to very small numbers, very small amount of time. Then we need the quality, and the quality that is driven both by the selection of the skills, so whether we know well that you actually like know how to do it, whether you have experience of how to doing it, but all like that's like on the fast track projects, that's the only thing what we have, is to know what skills you have already, like what you have shown on some other project. That's why it's so important to have them in your profiles. And on a longer time project is about like how quickly we can train you, how quickly we can how like that's the we are ready, like as soon as you're like ready for work, we're ready to train you and say like how quickly you actually like reach that level where we can say, hey, now we have an expert in the house, so we're able to do that. And the final and but probably the most important thing that is like sort of like driven that is underlying all those three main parts is availability, is something where we know that, hey, like when we ask you to like, hey, there is a work that perfectly fits your profile, that's, hey, like are you going to join us? Like if you promise that you actually like if you agreed, for example, to join the project, so like I actually like trying to put an effort and actually like do it. So uh when we work with experts in house, there is a lot of that reliability is already built in the system, because we know like we know whom we're working with. So when we work with the crowd, that's something that is being built, and that is something where the whole system is rolling to. And if you look at, if you followed like how the Populii had been evolving over the last year, and like what is actually being like on the way, like and sort of like where we're trying to like uh, put all that system together that actually like works in towards maximizing all those like four main parameters, that which eventually gonna solve the chicken and egg problem. and actually like that's where the amount of work can really boom. So the first, like what we're trying to do is like on the reliability part. So like so on the quality parts, like there is a whole like system of how we build the skill sets, how we fill the profiles, how we check the people, the nativity, the IDs. So we need to make sure that, hey, if you're at least like asking you for certain language, so like in certain location, that you're more or less there. So we know that you know that. So if you say that you know something, at least that we find a way to figure out like whether you're actually like capable of doing that. So we do a lot of like tracking like between the tasks of like who like performs well, like who didn't. So like we actually love coming back to those people who did a good job for us. We do we have there is a whole program, like about the golden members list. Are those people who like instead we are going through the gig work, we are basically like addressing directly. And there is a way how you can get into that list, the way where the work is more streamlined versus like us to polish like who is in that list. But also that we are working towards a lot of automation towards like how the task is going to go to you, how you get in those requests, like how and how all this like skills and reputation mechanics like going to work with it. So all of those elements going to be in place. So like when all that to maximize those parameters, and that is also like that's what's gonna drive also the whole like credibility of this mechanics, like within our internal stakeholders, which are delivery managers, and our external stakeholders, which is basically like client vendor managers and the final like client stakeholders way there on the back. So this sort of like how kind of like the bright future is looking, and like Jesse can confirm like how much time I spent with her like on polishing like all those mechanics around, and like I like me working with Samir on polishing the part of mechanic that goes towards the delivery. And so on that's like more or less all what I kind of like wanted to say. So like that's probably like so we had the questions like also in the process of the session. So like I probably gonna like give it right now like to Louis for the Q&A session, like and like if so ask us more question, and like that's looking into bright future here.
That's awesome, Renat. Thank you for the whole explanation of these topics, and especially the dynamics between you two, going into details from getting the client through the whole process of how do we do things to make sure that the client is happy. And we have a lot of questions in here, and I'm going to help you guys with the curating the questions because some of them are kind of similar. So we're going to start with Abdullahi. I'm going to select, I think, the most relevant questions for Rinat and Samir here. I know you asked several questions, but we'll try to keep things focused for the topic that they presented. So the first one here, Rinat or Samir, any of you who wants to chime in, is how does Populi ensure fair compensation and benefits for gig workers? I think that's a fair one.
That's a fair one. So I would say there is that's I would say partially there's actually a question even for Jesse here too, but I can say that hey, like on the delivery side, there is a lot of like there is a little bit of try and error there, but there is also like building the fair compensation skill set. So there's a market there. So like and there is also a way how to test that market. And there is a way how we on the delivery side like build those like rates based on the skills, language, location, and that sort of like all the information that we can gather from sort of like the world market about it. But at the same time, we totally understand that when we build those rates, like we may be off like one way or another. And we often get that feedback like from the members saying, hey, like, so for example, there is a certain like rare skill set that we evaluated at a certain rate. And then we see that the work is not, for example, going there, like, because there is a feedback that rate is not competitive, and we're doing our more ground research and saying, okay, like probably like we need to like increase this rate and, for example, put it in different. So eventually, the more like polished process is, and the more information is gathered, the better, the more tuned going to be rates with the work, because sometimes you can actually win because sometimes the rate might be actually better than the market. Like like our goal is actually like to set those rates exactly like on the market how they work. So Samir, anything you can add?
Yeah, just one thing, what you said exactly right. Just one thing that I would like to add is that special skill set, as Vinod said. And the second thing is certain languages which are difficult to, get people from. Those are a little where we pay high. So yeah, these are it all depends on the, requirement of, what the client is looking for in the task. What do you need to do? Yeah.
Okay. Well, Abdullahi, I hope that answers your question. And also you too, Kaja, because I saw that your question was kind of similar to that one. And next one we have Kat Kashan. How does Populi handle disputes or concerns raised by workers regarding compensation and benefits?
So that there are two destinations for those concerns. Like one of them, if you're already working with the delivery manager, like for example, so like, and there is some kind of like concern like based on the communication within them. Like that's sort of like you send it to us, and like within that team, often it can be resolved if it is like if it is something that is aligned with overall like stream of the work. Like the most of the concerns that we know, they're happening like around for example, the various stages of initiations of the task. For example, when there is some perception, then hey, like there is a promise that there may be work, for example, the work is not coming, and then of course there is a concern that hey, like in the like I kind of was there, and then there is no specific work, and they're working and they're writing it to Jesse and to the Populi teams, and they basically respond to that. So that is something I explain to like why sometimes it happens, but we also like thinking like how to like what would be the right like rewarding mechanisms for those ways where, for example, you responded to something, like the work didn't come, but we know that you responded, so that's a valuable piece of information for us. And that is something that that we want to like keep in mind when we, for example, calling you like for the new project that actually comes.
Yeah, good one. We have Nuri asking, what is Populi's strategy to ensure customer expectations can be met in the future?
So the main Populi, like the main work right now between Populi and sort of like, so there is a customer, there is delivery teams, and there is like Populi team. So Populi usually not working directly with the customers because that's too far, but like it's at least working directly with the delivery teams that working with the customers. And like part of our work, like as representing, like that's me, like, and Samir, like that's also parts of it. So we're representing like those needs for the delivery teams to be successful, and we're pushing those needs to the Populi, and that forms many actions, including those strategic actions that Jesse is working on the crowd side, and the Populi platform development side is working on the platform development side. So there is a lot of things that are happening like on the back end. So sometimes you see those things like appearing when, for example, like you can see, hey, like some requests for the skill sets, or like you can see some, for example, like paid testings, or like you see then, for example, some like activities around certain skill sets going on, because Jesse is doing a lot of work to ensure that we can show the skill set to delivery teams, so they could bring the right work to the platform. And also, Jesse is doing a lot on ensuring that the tasks are streamlined to the platform. So we also deliver that work in the right timeline, making both like delivery leads and the client happy with those like timelines. There's also a big thing, big part of it, as probably you know, with every business, there's always kind of like that part of like risk and uncertainties. So any client doesn't like uncertainties. So any client doesn't like, for example, when we promise something and then we say, oh, sorry, like we said that we have it, but we don't. So, and the more we know, who is, whom can we rely upon, like what skills do we have, how quickly they can respond, the more that information we have, the better we can respond to the client challenges, and the better we can set expectations on that side. And that the better there is that sort of like a synergy between the client and the Populi, and that's sort of like what Populi does to make basically the client criteria are satisfied.
Right. Right. I think we have time for one more, and this will be the last one. It's from Irene. She says, I know, I think you guys have probably talked about this, but maybe she wants something more specific. She asks, is there a scheme used to measure the quality of work done by gig workers at Populi, such as marks or points, so as to ensure quality assurance apart from training?
So there is a several like there is a several like evaluation like schemes that are being used. So like there is a separate one that is being developed by Jesse and the teams on like how they evaluate the workers, like on the engagement, on their like on their availability, on their, so they have the internal ratings. So many of them are basically like hidden, but eventually like all of that probably gonna go to that like rich profiles and stuff. That's probably like what Jesse can like probably like do hours of that. Probably there should be separate webinar on that, like how the platform specifically evolves. But we have our internal system, and that is basically like how our internal ratings on like how the workers perform on the projects. That includes basically the quality delivery, the reliability, uh, and like the time per task, like whether which is apparently like you can think it's not important how much time you spent on doing this task, but that's apparently very important for the client. That's like how they evaluate us, because they always need to know like what is the hourly like work like on the task. So for example, if they expect this task to be done in 10 minutes, so like ideally we need to be like fitting that like 10-minute thing. So like, because otherwise they think that maybe we don't have the right workers, or like they kind of like becoming those this type of concern. So we do have our internal rating system,
Mhm.
and we also like when we work with Populi, we're trying to them to communicate. Yes. And also, I see there is a question from Isama here. So, like, there is about the whether you can actually advance like within the projects, like if you're doing well, like that actually happens. Like, so again, I there are two types of projects that we do. So there is a kind of like a fast track projects. They're usually simple on instruction level, like, and then there is a pilots where we actually train the team sort of like in-house, and sort of like we want to be better and better, where we work multiple months, could be like on the same projects, like trying to do better and better and better on that. And in the second part, yes, absolutely, like the main project manager will see like how you work. They can also see how you contribute in the sense of, for example, your feedback on like what works, what doesn't, like what, like for example, like uncertainties in the instruction, or like common errors, or like so, and like and based on that, they can be putting assigning you to basically like higher roles on that, because there is always a demand for a higher role. For example, from like being like a rater to reviewer, like reviewer has to be like on a higher level expertise. Or then, for example, there could be a next stage of project where we're doing even more complex work, where we tend to pick those people who like from the previous stage, who actually like have shown to be like on the top of the expertise.
All right, all right. Thank you for that. Well, unfortunately, we have arrived to the end of the session, but it has been wonderful to learn the what's going on behind the scenes between delivery team, the Populate platform, all the ecosystem elements in this ecosystem is super interesting, and yeah, people were thrilled to ask many questions. Sorry that we couldn't answer them all. We were just focusing on the relevant to the domain of these two gentlemen. But as always, thank you all for joining. We appreciate you here. We hope to see you in the next webinar. We have more surprises for you. And thank you, Rinat and Samir, for joining and sharing all your wisdom with the audience. So if you have anything to say, you can say goodbye to the audience, and that's it.
All the best. Goodbye. Goodbye. And thanks for joining. Until we meet the next time.
No, I'm not gonna say goodbye. I hope to see you all like on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
just like let's stay together. So
Until next time.
hopefully to see you like on some regular
Yeah.
basis. Then like your name's gonna resonate. So I'm gonna
That's
know you
awesome.
better.
Thank you,
Until the
Yeah.
guys.
next time.
Have a great day.
Okay. Bye. Bye.